I saw you on a podcast show a few days ago, and you broke down something that was very interesting. So I would like for you to break that down again for my audience and Crypto G's as well audience. When you were saying it was dealing with Black history, but you was talking about the N word, how it broke all the way down to the N word, how we not the actual ER at the end.
Yeah. Uh, so all Africans wasn't brought to America, right? So I think uh, you had Western, somewhat central and northern parts of Africa that was captured as slaves uh, and brought over here through the triangular slave trade, right? So the first generation, they bringing Africans in. The Atlantic slave trade wasn't a long period where they was importing Africans into America. The world said, okay, y'all, we're gonna put a ban on shipping humans across the seas as slaves. America, even though America didn't have any more slaves that was being imported into the country, they had some that was still being shipped, but it was shipped probably through small channels and illegally. America started making slaves, kind of like how these niggas created these funny looking dogs. What's these Frenchies and all these short leg bulldogs. It's kind of like how they just all of a sudden started making these dogs. America did this with blacks. Just go say Nigger. So they started making slaves. Eventually, the African who was born in Africa, who once had freedom, and that was captured and that was brought here and had the agony of knowing what it was like to be born with freedom, no longer have freedom, that's a slave. He wasn't a, he was an African slave. Years into the institution of slavery, you had slaves who was made here. They was born here. They was born into slavery. They don't have no idea, they have no recollection of what it's like to be free. They cannot think past the American shores of slavery. Those was, that's my, hey, we got for sale. Birth certificate, death certificate, uh, name log in the county clerk's office. Mr. Williams had 13. So the began to evolve. Went from, always been a boy or a gal, but went from being to coloreds. Coloreds. Coloreds was during the time of Reconstruction. Was starting to get a little rights, a little freedom. Went from to coloreds. From coloreds to from was Dr. King them generation. Went from to just black. That's your Black Panther Party. That's I'm black and I'm proud. Then they went from just black to African Americans. You're well educated folks that don't want to be that followed Jesse Jackson during the 80s to take on this mantra that we are African Americans. Then from African Americans, we went from NIGA, NWA, with an attitude. real street, doughboy, everybody. And now we got a bunch of hip hop babies. But we are seeds of the slave, not Africans. None of us can trace our lineage back to a who was from an African tribe on the plantation, and we can say our granddaddy was a Zimbabwe that got captured from this jungle that was brought her. Man, most of us can't do that. Most of our lineage is traced back to the Nigger.